Hi everybody, this is Matt. Thanks for watching and welcome back. Well, how do you choose a handgun or a pistol that's going to work for you, especially if you're new to the shooting sports? That's a tough one because everybody out there has an opinion, from your local gun shop to the guys at the range and to the internet. And on the internet, along with everything else, don't always believe everything that you hear, everything that you read. Let experience be your guide. And by experience, what works for you. Because what works for me, frankly, might not work for you, and vice versa. We're all built differently. So how do we make a good choice when it comes to a handgun? Well, first of all, what's your budget? If you've got $200 to spend, okay, you have $200. What are your choices? A used handgun, maybe a high point, something like that. And don't let anybody make you feel bad if $200 is all that you have to spend. If you have a larger budget, say up to $500, you open up your opportunities. Again, what do you get? Do you get a Beretta? Do you get a Glock? Do you get a Smith & Wesson M&P? What is it? It's really up to you. I can't tell you what's going to work for you. I'm just going to suggest that you try as many different pistols as possible, that you handle them, and you go through a little bit longer decision making. Don't make a snap judgment, because when you go into a local gun shop, they want to close that sale as soon as possible. I mean, most places do, especially big box stores. Otherwise, they don't want to give you the time of day. But my suggestion is pick things up, go back a couple of times, handle them, see how it feels. And then once you've made your choice and your decision, stick by it. Don't be one of those people that jumps from one gun to the other, to the other, to the other, because you're not shooting well with it. The reason you're not shooting well isn't because of the gun. It's because of you. It's because of me. It's really not the gun. You can take practically every modern firearm, modern handgun and pistol that's produced today, put it on a bench, put it in a vise, shoot that thing, and they're all going to be accurate. So if your shots are all over the place, they're scattered all throughout that target, it's not the gun, it's you. But there are so many people on the internet that have very strong opinions, and they'll make you feel as a beginner or even as a more intermediate or advanced person that you're a little bit less of an individual because of your choice of what you're going to carry or use at the range. So let me give you an example of that. How many times on the internet have you heard revolvers suck? These things are from the Stone Age. Bah, they're horrible, don't get one. Or how many times have you heard 1911s? They suck. Horrible. Or you've heard SIGs suck because look at that high bore axis. Or Glocks suck because they're like handling a 2x4. You know, there's no such thing as a perfect handgun. There are always trade-offs. Everybody's hands are different. What works for me might be totally different for you. My hands aren't, ginormous, but there are people out there that have very large hands. For those of you that watch Hickok 45, for example, that dude is tall and his hands are absolutely huge. And kudos to him, that guy has excellent trigger control. But I'm sure he's had plenty of challenges when it comes to handguns and how to shoot them. So let's talk about a revolver. This is one of my original service revolvers. And the thing that I like about revolvers, even though they appear to be antique in the eyes of a lot of people, is the restrike capability, meaning that if you have a bad round, that primer doesn't light off on it. If you're on a striker fire system, what happens? You're going to have to rack that back and eject that cartridge. On a revolver, you just simply keep pulling the trigger. You have restrike capability with the revolver. with a 1911. John Moses Browning, in my opinion, was an absolute genius. These things work. They were a staple of the U.S. military for how many decades? They feel very good in the hand, and the triggers on these things are amazing. So it boils down to you. Frankly, a lot of people don't like them just simply because they don't like to clean them. And when it comes to cleaning, you need to be very careful when you're cleaning a revolver because these things get dirty. Let's take the SIG for example. Yeah, it has a high bore axis. That's true. But the thing is, it is a great handgun. This 229 feels very, very nice in my hands. And one thing that I like about it is I actually enjoy having the double action capability. And that is one thing that a lot of people don't like about SIG Sauers, is because a lot of these SIGs have a decocker, because you're not going to carry it like this, because otherwise, but I actually like this. It doesn't really create a problem for me, and it's all because of training with it. When it comes to dry fire, I've got a laser light cartridge in this, so I can just do single, or rather double action pulls, and I can do this until I wear out that laser light cartridge. And I think that it's a very, very good way of training, is just to be able to hold it one hand, and then you can see exactly what's going on. When it comes to a Glock, for example, yeah, they can be a little bit chunky. But I'll tell you what, they work. And how many times have you heard people complain about Glock sights? Well, this has the original Glock sights on it. Works for me. And one thing I like about it is I've got this laser, which just having a stationary laser like this is really good to diagnose any trigger control problems, because you can come up like so, you can squeeze the trigger, and if you flinch, it'll go down like this. But if you're not flinching, if you got good trigger control, it doesn't move. So works for me. This little Glock 19, I don't know what it is about this, but it feels really, really good in my hand. And I shoot this very well. And for some reason, it's got a very, very sweet trigger on it. It's got one of the nicest triggers I've ever had on a Glock. And I can shoot this thing. So the thing is, shoot a variety of handguns. Try them out. If you're at a range with a buddy and he's got something that you've never handled, you've never been able to fire before, ask him, and I'm sure he'll let you. And ladies, when it comes to choosing your own firearm, you choose what is best for you. Don't let some guy try to talk you into something really small because you're a woman, because that's bogus. You can fire any one of these weapons just as good as a guy. You don't need a little bitty mouse gun. And frankly, those very small subcompacts a lot of times can be more difficult because they've got more bark, they got more bite to them, they're a little bit harder to control. Don't let other people control your thoughts. You make your decision. So I'm not going to argue against any of these platforms because I know that they're all perfectly usable when it comes to self-defense or going on the range. The thing is, what's going to work for you? Your budget, what feels good to you, and what you can shoot the most accurate. Don't fall into the trap of the Gun of the Month Club, because what happens? You're going to spend a lot of money. Why is that? Well, if you're going to be carrying this for personal defense, you need a holster, right? Chances are you'll probably end up with 2 or 3 holsters because of, yeah, that's just the way that things go. You also need magazines. They don't give these things away. If you get into something like The SIGs that have metal mags, they certainly don't give these away. But if you keep switching from month to month from one handgun system to the other, what's it going to do? It's going to run up your credit card bills, it's going to drain your wallet, and you can be very, very frustrated. So one thing that I found that works for me is taking the most difficult handgun, the one that gives me the most grief, and just look at it as a challenge to shoot it well, to shoot it within my capabilities, my best capabilities, and not give up on it. Make sense? Anyway, hope this helps, and thank you for watching. Until next time, everybody, be safe out there and have a good one.